And boom, and we're live. And welcome to another edition of Life is People. And well, tonight I just want to have a quick, real, just sort of like delving deep with something that sort of come across my radar just a few months ago, and it was called Project Scotcoin. So, without any further, how you doing tonight, Willie?
Hi, how you doing? I'm Willie Fleming.
I'm really good. Perfect. Well, let's go right back to the very sort of basic start question that I'm asked all the time. What is Scotcoin?
Well, Scotcoin's digital currency for Scotland. Originally started life as yet another coloured coin, envisaged initially by a guy called Derek Nisbet, who kicked it off around the end of 2013. And he pre-mined 980 million out of a billion, and basically gave it away to people and said, "Get on with it. Build yourselves a currency. Build yourselves an economy around it." And yeah, people got involved. They said there's going to be a giveaway, so it went out on a couple of mailing lists, and he said, "You're going to wake up in the morning with some Scotcoin in your wallets. Make a wallet. You wake up in the morning with some Scotcoin." So we woke up in the morning, and Derek had given us all $1 million, which was incredibly generous of him. But there was only about 700 people he'd given $1 million to. Now, if he'd managed to give a million people 700 coins each, we could have done something with it. But a lot of people thought, "Hey, we've got a lot of money, we're going to be rich," and they sat on it, didn't do terribly much with it. So the coin didn't go terribly far, and we got a little community around it, but it wasn't very big. And then there was a little thing called the referendum came along, and everybody who was interested in Scotcoin found better things to do. And the coin sort of withered away. The blockchain it was on kept getting attacked, and in the end, Derek decided the best thing he could do was to convert it onto the counterparty protocol, which was the most sensible solution at the time. But unfortunately, it was done very quickly, and the conversion process was not straightforward, and a lot of people lost their coins. I had mentioned Scotcoin to a couple of guys I knew who were interested in the concept, and between us, we bought up what we could of the counterparty tokens, and decided we were going to do it properly this time. So we just put a press release yesterday stating that a couple of weeks ago we finally bought out all the IP and all of the remaining coins that we could get, and we're going to get these distributed one way or another to basically around the people of Scotland, get them out there as widely as we can. And we hope in that way we're going to stimulate economic growth and bring the benefits of cryptocurrency to everybody, not just the geeks. So that's basically what we're about.
Well, as you can imagine, I'm sure we'll maybe sort of linger upon and touch upon the Brexit and how that is in relation to what's gone on with Scotcoin and stuff, because that's a very relevant issue for people over here in the UK. But just on a general wider one, I mean, one of the things I'm asked again is I'd like to hear your answers on these. Is how can the general public get Scotcoin, and maybe a supplementary question to that as well, which I'm asked a lot, is just for the people of Scotland, because there's people around the world who are are interested in cryptocurrencies, and they're asking me, can I purchase Scotcoin? Will it have any relevance to me if I live in Australia and stuff? So both those questions: how can the general public get hold of Scotcoin, and is it available and used for the wider public who don't live in Scotland?
Well, the answer to that is you can get Scotcoin from our CoinVend site at coinvend.io/Scotcoin. And I really should have a little thing to hold up here with that. I'll give you the links to all that later. you can buy direct there for Bitcoin. In most cases, you need to have Bitcoin before you can buy Scotcoin. And we've found, especially over the past few days, that is a major stumbling block to people. So we're working on a one-button solution, but there are regulatory challenges to that. There are security challenges to that as well that we need to look forward to. Yeah. We're partnering with Anadev, that's ANAEDV.UK, and they can do Scotcoin directly for pound sterling. And we'll be bringing that service ourselves locally very soon, we hope. As for people abroad, well, just this afternoon I was Skyping with a guy in Australia who's very interested in taking it there. And yeah, we see Scotcoin forming, having two purposes really. A day-to-day currency for the people of Scotland that they can use as an alternative to sterling, or possibly even in place of sterling. And well, with the recent political upheavals, who knows what currency we'll be using soon. And why not Scotcoin? But also, we see no reason why Scotcoin cannot be a major player in the cryptocurrency markets alongside Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin, all the other major altcoins as well. And we see no reason why that shouldn't be possible. And we're working to make that happen. There's an awful lot of work to do, but somebody's got to do it, and we're going to do it.
Now, one of the things I found was very inspiring, and it was something you wrote on the Mainsafe forum when you were discussing Scotcoin, and it was very inspiring, and it kind of had a very much synergy to what I'm building with N99, and it was the idea, which you don't hear a lot nowadays. Now, maybe it's just because of where we are geographically, but the idea which I found very inspiring was the idea you said, you took it in relation to maybe Iceland and how that they distributed a very much a digital currency in Iceland, but they had no vendors to the other end. And it's approaching that circle from the other way around and saying, okay, we need to have this distributed. We need to have vendors and people who are using it. So what steps are you taking in Scotcoin? Because I mentioned this and I wrote to you in private and said this, but I mean, I'm sure where you are, most people in Scotland will be recognise and be very aware of things like the Highland Games. Now we have, even in here in Guruk, we had a Highland Games here, and I was just walking around that event the whole weekend thinking, this would be perfect for Scotcoin. You know, if we could have a vendor here where we could buy it and sell it, people would buy and sell there. So these are some of the ideas I have. Now, I from your perspective, how do you entail and plan to sort of get this out and distribute it amongst people so the everyday person can actually use Scotcoin in shops, and so it becomes, like you said, an equal use to sterling. And the way to have that happen is having as many available outlets as possible. So what steps are you taking towards that?
Well, we've got to get the basic structure in place first. We're almost ready to release a beta of a wallet. Once we get the wallet together, then we can work on what I'm calling the till, which is basically a wallet for retailers to accept money. And behind that, we need to put the infrastructure of letting an infrastructure to let merchants know what the daily rate, the exchange rate is for the Scotcoin against the pound. We've got to put in a structure where they can sell us back their Scotcoin, because until we get businesses trading within each other, you know, any business that takes Scotcoin is impacting their cash flow. So they've got to be able to swap that Scotcoin back for sterling with us, and we need to put these structures in place first. Now, it's very interesting you talk about the Highland Games at Guruk, which I was at about 4 or 5 years ago. It's always one of the earlier ones in the season. We'd love to go round and raise consciousness at every Highland Games this year, but the fact is we're not ready for it. We would be wasting our time because we don't have the back end in place to support lots of people dressed in Scotcoin t-shirts and kilts, handing out flyers, handing out scratch cards that they can win Scotcoin with. All these things we will be doing, but only when the correct structures are in place at the back end. We need to wait for that first. We're a very small team. We need more funding. It's simple as that. To get in developers, to get in people to give us marketing, simply people to put on the ground, to go out and do that marketing. So yeah, we'd love to do it, but the time is not quite right. And it'll be a few months, and by which time the Highland Games season will be over. But certainly next year, you can expect to see a big presence, a big marketing push on Scotcoin once we've got the proper structures in place. But the worst thing we could do would be to go off too early and put out a big marketing blurb and then not have the proper structures behind us. The proper foundations need to be built first, and that will neither be easy, cheap, or quick. It's just hard. It's got to get done.
Now, when you
sorry,
when you no, I'm just saying when you have spoken to you're in the fine city and one of the great cities of this earth, Glasgow, one of the industrial heartlands, and I recommend to anyone to come and visit Glasgow, because you really do. You can see all along the River Clyde, from even where I live all the way down, and you just see traces of how humans have really shaped this planet, and how this city was a focal point of a great trading and enlightenment and everything. Now, when you're taking this, and that's what I'm trying to say, I'm pushing this forward to where we are now. When you're going to merchants and you're talking to people generally, do you think are you meeting much resistance amongst the general public, or are people finding this easier to? Because if you've been doing this, say like I have, maybe for 2 years, I'm finding it almost on a daily basis, and especially after the events of the last week, people are really, not only are they interested, but they've got a real gaining understanding. I mean, 2 or 3 years ago, if you tried to explain what Bitcoin was, they were like, oh, but now it seems to be generally, like you said, entering the general consciousness. And my point to you is, when you are going out and you're speaking particularly to merchants and people like that, how the local Scots feeling about this? Because this is one of the things I wanted to point out to, that money in itself, sterling was obviously a Scottish. This is all based around Scots. So I just wondered, do you still see that ripples of the history in the people you speak to on a daily basis, or do you find that people are like, oh, what is this new fandangled cryptocurrency? I mean, how are you finding the state of play right now in Glasgow?
Well, mostly it's, what is this newfangled thing? And we got to explain what it is, because let's face it, for most people, money, one thing matters: have I got enough to see myself either to the end of the day, the end of the week, or the end of the month? And that's as far as most people think really about money. Have I got enough of it? Trying to explain to them that it can come in different forms. What cryptocurrency is it's not always easy, Yeah, you went on about the history of it, and sterling itself comes from sterling, where there was where the Scottish Royal Mint was back once for a while. Yeah, but to be honest, that's not something that we're capitalizing on. Maybe we should, Maybe when we get better marketing people in than myself, then it will, And I need marketing people, folks. Come and help me. I need lots of help with lots of things. So yeah, that's an interesting tie-up. But generally, you got to explain to people what it's about, where they're at, and you've got to keep their attention for long enough and make it interesting enough. And sometimes it's a hard sell, sometimes it's an easy sell. Depends on the person, It's hard. There is no one typical reaction. Everybody's different, But that's a great thing I like about people. They're all different.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I find a general consensus around, particularly after the events, and we keep going back to it, but it has been quite an momentous week over here with the referendum vote. But a lot of people I speak to, and general taxis and trains, they are very much, and particularly like you said, we're only 2 years after the referendum here. There is a very much a proud element, and people are very much aware. And I generally find it that the people I speak to, very much aware what money is, and I'm very aware more than time than ever I've seen before. And I don't know how this reflects in your personal experience, but more than ever before, they understand what money is, and what it is compared to the sterling, compared to the euro, and I just think we're in these transformative times, and I think it's very, very positive and inspiring. Now you keep mentioning you're wanting help. Okay, for people maybe listening to this, or people I speak to, or just generally, if there's people out there listening, what help particularly do you need, and how can people, if they're listening out there, how can they reach out to you, how can they touch you, and what kind of things are you particularly requiring, and what help can we just generally, for people out there like myself, what help can we give you to make this really successful?
Well, I need people to write code for me. I need people to do the sysadmins here, because while I can do it, there's other things I need to do. I need people to go out and market. I need people to go out and talk to people. I need folk to retweet what we're saying. I need forum moderators. We want to get a forum going, but I can't put a forum up until I get a good moderator. And I know if I try and do it myself, then I won't get anything else done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here absolutely on my own, but we are a very small team, and we do specifically need somebody who has got some experience of moderating forums. But the main thing that people can do to help us is buy some Scotcoin from our CoinVend machine, or make an account on Bittrex, because it's available on Bittrex. Right now, the price on Bittrex is 390 Satoshi per Bitcoin. And that's been rising, as you might have guessed, over the past couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's all very interesting. The price is going up, and we could, as I say, you can help by coming in and buying a little. You can buy some Bitcoin, as I say, on coinvend.io/Scotcoin, or get some from Anadave. Or we can use all the donations you want to get. Look at the website. We've got plenty of donate buttons there. If we'll accept anything. We will accept any cryptocurrency, even made safe. As far as made safe goes, Scotcoin at the moment is on the counterparty protocol. We will be looking very closely if further down the line we can move on to the safe network, but we realize that's quite a bit away. We got to get the structured data working, and the guys in Trin have got many other jobs to do before they get round to that. But there's a big community out there in the safe community, the safe community. I think altcoins will be one of the first things that once we've done with SafeX and all the other apps, I think somebody else will want to put another altcoin on top of the SafeCoin, because I don't see Scotcoin and the eventual SafeCoin as being competitors in any way. In fact, I've discussed this with Nick Lambert. We see them as complementary, not competing. We're inhabiting fairly different spaces, or at least at the moment, we think they're inhabiting fairly different spaces. So yeah, there's plenty of room for both. But if you want, again, please, if you're a moderator, if you think you could be a moderator, you get in touch, please.
Well, that's perfect. I mean, one of the just the other one. I mean, I'm asked a lot about is there any? Will you have any plans or I mean, I don't have plans because there are no plans because there's no central structure. But in the essence, has it been discussed about actually making Scotcoin into, you know, like gold tokens that people could actually store as a physical, you know, object? Because this is one of the fears that I'm sure you encounter. A lot of people going, "Oh, crypto's all well and good, but I actually want something solid, like a piece of gold. If it all does all go to hell in a handcart, I've actually got something." So is that something you've discussed about, you know, making, you know, Scotcoin actually a tangible, solid object in gold or silver or platinum or anything along those lines?
Well, people are not going to believe that this has not been scripted, but we actually are planning to take gold that's been mined in Scotland from the mine up in Connanish, and will be, when we can find somebody who can do it at the proper price, we will be having gold coins struck, and then each one will be engraved as a cold gold wallet. So yeah, you can get some cold gold that will be both made of Scottish gold and be a Scottish cryptocurrency. So yeah, that's something that we're definitely looking at, you know, and we hope that these will be traded in the same way that Kruger rounds, for instance, were traded. You know? So yeah, very much we're looking at something that people can have and hold in their hand, or more likely use as a store of value. But primarily we are about getting the currency out and moving. You know, while there is a place for a large store of value as in gold, we really want to increase the velocity of the money, and that means how fast does each coin move? And the faster one moves, the faster the currency moves round, the more economic benefit there is to everybody in the community. And that is our prime concern, making the most of what we have here, making currency work better for the people of Scotland, and at the same time making a strong cryptocurrency that's tradable throughout the world as well. You talked about the events of the last couple of weeks. Now, the Scotcoin Project is strictly apolitical. We do not hold any particular political position, but it would be naive to think that the last few weeks have not presented a great opportunity. There's a big shake-up coming. There will be a big shake-up coming in the currency that is used in this country, and there is no reason why it shouldn't be a cryptocurrency. And we are in the ideal position to take advantage of that, and we intend to.
Well, without sort of going too much into that conversation, because I think that's a separate conversation. But one of the things that I found, particularly in the last week, speaking to people, you know, that I've interacted with, is, and I mentioned this before we went live, is that right now, and I think it's been a sort of theme of this conversation, there's a awareness of what money is, and like you said, I've never seen more of an interest. It doesn't take long before people actually mention to me about Scotcoin. Like, oh, I only wish that some people up here would have their own currency, and I obviously start talking about Scotcoin. But the thing that I think people are really becoming very aware of is which I'm trying to really sort of get to with the Brexit, was they don't want to jump into the euro, and I think that's where I think Scotcoin has this really big advantage and an area it can take a huge advantage on, like you said, talk about it being in complementary with SafeCoin. The area, it's got a huge area to sort of step into and avoid that he's going to be filling, is that idea that people are going to be like, yes, I want this isn't being political and talking about any at all, but yes, I may want more sovereignty as a nation, but I don't want to go back into the EU. And if you could just marry the two together, that's all I get from people saying to me, if there's only our own currency, if we only had our own currency, that would be, you know, our own referendum and a currency. And that's a great, to me, what inspires me about where this can really, Scotcoin can really get into, and it can really fundamentally change the whole dynamics of the country, and I think one of the finest countries in the whole world to live in, and it can change the whole dynamics, and it's really inspiring, and it must really, I think, immensely it's the challenge for the next sort of few months ahead, like you said, like we've all got at the moment, is entering that whole new world of where these people are hungry for this and offering them what they want. And this is what's really inspiring. And I'm really inspired by what you said. And I have to repeat this again, but I'm very inspired by the way that you're approaching this. And instead of, like you said, instead of just trying to blow something up, you're like, no, let's do it step by step by step and make it that way possible, because that is eventually will lead to success, and that is very, very inspiring. And I think the time is definitely right now. The time is, I speak to people, like I say, on a daily basis, and never before in the time I've lived in Scotland have I heard so much talk about they're wanting their own currency and Scotcoin. And I think it's just generally entering the consciousness, because I think this every time. Even tonight, coming home on the train, as I mentioned to you, I was speaking to people, and I know those people will go home tonight and they will tell people, and they would tell people, and it's just rising. And I think these are the greatest days to live in. And I think
we're getting to a stage, and we will. It's going to grow exponential, even if one person talking to two people, and the two people go and talk to another two people, etc., etc. But yeah, we can feel we're coming. There's a big change coming. However, there's a great responsibility on us to do this and do it right, because if we screw it up and get it wrong, then we make things so much more difficult for those who come after us. So it's our responsibility to do this and do it right and make sure it's right. And yeah, we need to move fast, but moving too fast is also, moving too slow is a problem. Moving too fast is a problem. We got to get it right. We got to have the foundations right. And that's why it's essential that we get our wallet out and well tested before it's released, and then we can build on top of that. So yeah, there are big changes coming, and we don't know what these changes will be. Nobody knows what these changes will be, but we're at a time of great uncertainty, and it's those who are in a position to take advantage of it who will come out best. And we are working to put ourselves into the best position to take advantage of these changes. So yeah,
that's perfect.
All very exciting. Very exciting.
That's it.
And all I can ask is just get out there and talk to people. That's what really matters. Spreading the word. And
I think you're. No, I think you're absolutely correct, and I think we're in that very transitory moment. And as you said, one of the barriers that you obviously come against is even right now the barrier to even getting Bitcoin. But these are going to dissolve moment by moment by moment. And like I said, I think right now it's, like you said, it's just about spreading word and just step by step by step. And I think that's really good. Now, as I said before, you mentioned to people where they can reach out and where they can find you. I would love to, and I'll sort of speak to some of the people I know. Maybe do a walkthrough video, so how people can actually get some Bitcoin, how they can transfer that, because that's very fundamental. So I think I'll set some balls into motion of that, making a short video about how people can get Bitcoin and how they can buy Scotcoin from that, because I think, like you said, it's getting out to everybody else.
We're very keen to get a one-button solution to, not one button, but one form. Put your credit card details in here, we can give you Scotcoin there. But it's not just as simple as it sounds, which is unfortunate. But there you go. That's how it goes, If it was easy, we'd have done it a while ago. But
exactly. Well,
that's us. Scotcoinproject.com. Have a look at the website, and a lot of your questions will be answered there. And if they're not answered, we've got a contact form, and please do ask us questions. Ask us questions. Reach out. Tell us if you're interested. Just leave us your email address so we can put you on the list, and we'll be delighted to tell you all we can and keep people up to date. And as I say, very shortly we will be starting a forum just as soon as we can get somebody suitable to moderate it. you know. And I am not that suitable person for a moderator, you know. I have great respect for the guys who moderate on the Safe Forum. I couldn't do that job, and I need something, you know, to come and give me a hand with that, you know. The great thing is realizing what skills you don't have and not trying to do them all yourself, you know.
And well, that wise, very wise words there, my friend. That it's been an absolute pleasure tonight. And I know we kind of briefly spoken upon this, and I'd give an open invitation. Anytime you've got any kind of any news or anything you want to highlight and to make awareness, please just let me know, because I think it's important. I will definitely, you know, make this first of many conversations, because I'm just personally fascinated to see how this is all going to progress over the next few years. And I think it's very, like I said before, it inspires me greatly that some of the greatest innovations, some of the greatest pushes forward in technology are happening in this fair nation of Scotland. And it's just this wind-beaten part of the world that nobody ever goes to, but some of the finest scenery ever in the world, some of the finest people, and still in 2016, some of the greatest innovations are being built in this fair country. So I think that inspires me.
We've had our fair share of inventors here, and we intend to carry on with that, you know. But
Exactly.
one of the greats of a lot is David Irvin. I've got to say, you know, got to take my hat off to that man. What he's doing is just fantastic. And if we can emulate only a small part of what he's doing, we'll be doing very well. Anyway, thank you very much indeed, and I'll be delighted to come back and talk to you again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and welcome from me over here in Guruk. And not often I get to say this from over in Glasgow. It's life is people.